Okay. That is super important. I don't really want to do an intro because intros are really awkward and weird, so I'm just gonna kind of jump straight in. You can see what this video is about from the title. But if you don't know, this is a review of Binge by Tyler Oakley, and it will contain spoilers, so if you haven't read it or if you plan on reading it, you shouldn't watch this. It won't be specific spoilers, so if you're kind of okay with vague mentions of what is in this book, then you can watch, but otherwise, bye bye, I'll see you next time. I haven't really read any biographies before this. I had a class about narratives and identity last year, and we were talking about biographies, and we read Brief from My Father by Barack Obama. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was really good, it was well written, but it didn't really make me want to read more biographies. But now I read Binge, and that was really good. So therefore I went and bought this beast of a book. I can see it's bigger than my head and it's really thick. It's Hillary Clinton's biography, Hard Choices, which she wrote herself. I actually thought she would have had a ghostwriter, but she wrote it herself, and I'm gonna read it soon. I'm actually really excited to read it. I really admired Barack Obama before I read his book, and the same with Tyler Oakley, but even more so after. For me, biographies is not, I don't really care that much about the specifics. What I want to get out from them is really a sense of the person, and that's really hard with biographies. Writing a biography, you have to make it believable and you have to make it readable. So you have to kind of change your identity into a book form, and that can be very difficult. Barack Obama and Tyler Oakley did it very different ways. Barack Obama did it in a story where he kind of went from childhood to adulthood and his experiences while he was growing up as a plot line, and it was a continuous narrative. Whereas Tyler Oakley kind of had clips from his life, like a scene here and a scene there, and while they were in kind of chronological order, he also had like opinions, and he had a chapter about the weirdest American holidays. So he kind of chose to present himself in kind of a YouTube fashion. I think when you vlog on YouTube or you make YouTube videos, you kind of take a snapshot of who you are right now. And that's actually what we get in Binge. While he has these scenes where things happen, he also has chapters where it's just opinions. And both kind of approaches really work for me, but I actually enjoy Tyler Oakley's more. Like the snapshot kind of approach really worked for me because it was, I can put it up, I can take it up and put it down whenever I want, and I can now, if I want to read it again, I can pick out the chapters I want to read, the chapters I enjoy the most. And it wasn't so overwhelming. It didn't feel like, I mean, it felt like one book, but at the same time each chapter was so separated from the rest that it felt like novellas in a way, a book of novellas, and I really enjoyed that, even though I don't like novellas. So. Biographies really exist in this place where you have to both make it readable and therefore make some form of narrative, but at the same time you want it to be truthful and you want it to be representative of an individual and their personality. And that's really hard to reconcile sometimes. A thing that authors apparently do. We read Uro og Urenhed af Stavbjerg. I think he's German or Danish, but he was talking about how authors of biographies often incorporate some embarrassing story in order to make the biography seem real. And the example he had was a Norwegian author who, in his kind of biography, was leaning towards a novel form. To make it believable, he would include something embarrassing, and what he included was that when he had trouble pooping, he would stick his fingers up his ass and stretch his ass out so the poop could come out. And that is disgusting, but also kind of funny. But I really enjoyed Tyler Oakley's poop chapter a lot more. I mean, just the fact that he had a poop chapter was kind of amazing, because it was just such a stereotypical way of writing biography, but I think he made it his own in the sense that it was funny, it was believable, but it wasn't gross. I mean, fingering your ass is not gross, but fingering your ass to pull out poop is fucking gross. On one hand, it was kind of, oh, he's trying to make this seem real, but on the other hand, it was just so funny. that it seemed like he was just, listen, this is the real me, but it's really fucking funny, so you need to know. Like, it was also kind of friendly. As I was reading his book, I felt more and more like a friend, like he was just talking to a friend. And I really enjoyed that. It was really a comfortable reading experience. But the book is really, really funny. Like, if you watch his videos, you know he's a funny person, and he has that a lot. I mean, he has his personality in the book. Sometimes I felt like, when I read, I don't have a voice in my head reading it aloud, but sometimes I felt like I could actually hear Tyler reading or talking to me. On one hand, he was really, really fucking funny. Like, the feet chapter with the feet guy who really enjoyed having stinky feet and touching them, and apparently also licking them, I think. For me, feet are the grossest thing ever, and I can't imagine touching them voluntarily, but the way Tyler described that experience was funny and gross and also erotic, which is really weird, but somehow he managed to kind of tie those feelings and experiences together, and that was amazing. That was an experience, reading that chapter. An experience. So on one hand he's really funny, but on the other hand he also has these very sad chapters when he was talking about Adam, his first love, and how they broke up, and before that how they treated each other. He was like, okay, I get it, I understand, I made mistakes as well, and I was just like, kill the fucking bastard. He needs to die. Because I'm not a very forgiving person, and I don't think what Tyler did in that relationship was comparable to what Adam did, but that might, I realize that I'm very, very biased. I mean, as I'm reading the book, I feel like, as I was reading the book, I felt more and more like I was his best friend, and so I think I grew kind of protective of him. And then when he was describing calling the Trevor Project hotline, I was crying and I wanted to hug him. And I was a bit scared for him, even though I know he didn't kill himself, because he's alive right now and he wrote the book. When you drive someone to the edge of suicide, you can't compare that to not communicating well, which seems to basically be the problem. So I guess what we learned today is that Tyler is a very, very nice person, and that I'm not. So, big surprise, Tyler's a better person than me. I knew that already. So you have the funny moments, and you have the sad moments, and you also have the in-between moments, luckily, because if I was going from crying to laughing to crying to laughing all the time, I would break apart, because my emotion doesn't work that way. You can't play me like that. The kind of in-between, like the ranking of his Disney Prince crushes, that was really nice, because it kind of mellowed the book out, so it wasn't just extremes but also like a middle ground, and that was sorely needed. And he kept the pace really well, because it was like funny, sad, middle, funny, sad, middle. He didn't really have that kind of rhythm, but at the same time I think the chapters came when they needed to come, in a sense. Like when I was like, okay, this is getting really sad now, then there would come a funny chapter, and then okay, I'm on a high, let's take it a little bit higher, but then come a sad story, I'm like, okay, now I need a break, then the mellow chapters would come. So I think the pacing was really good. As I mentioned, the Barack Obama biography had like, it was a narrative, it was a story about how his life had evolved, whereas Tyler Oakley's is more like glimpses into his life. This happened, and this happened, and this happened, and I really liked that, because I wasn't following a plot. Each chapter was self-contained, and then that meant that I could pick it up and put it down whenever I wanted, and that also means that if I want to read it again, I can just like, that chapter was fun, I'm gonna read that again. That was a very relaxed approach to the genre. I was really skeptical about him writing a book, because like non-readers writing books just seems weird to me. For me, like Stephen King, he said something along the lines of, if you want to be a good writer, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot, and that's it. And I feel the same way. It's like if you want to make YouTube videos, you have to watch a lot of them and you have to make a lot of them. I mean, I'm not really good. I mean, right now it's gotten better and it feels easier already after just 5-6 videos. So like, you have to do it in order to be good at it. If he hasn't written anything besides this, then I'm quite frankly in awe because this is a really, really good book. It's very, very good. It was emotional and it was funny and it was sad and it was just, I felt like his best friend, and I feel like this was very much Tyler Oakley. I guess I just really enjoyed reading this book, and I hope you did as well if you read it. Otherwise, I think you should pick it up. And I would be very interested in hearing what you think in the comments down below if you want to. And if you for some reason are watching this and haven't seen Tyler Oakley's YouTube videos, go check him out. I'll link him down below and have fun with it. He's a very funny person. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and if you want to check it out, I think you should. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Goodbye. I need a break. I need a break. And I need to go to the bathroom.